right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Tempe DC podcast. It is I, Coach Gino, back with my cameraman and purple belt, Mark. Mark, give him a shout.
Yo.
All right. So, some updates for y'all on today. It is January 29th, Sunday. Today, we are going to be giving some updates on the gym. Also, we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're not going to talk too much about the combat sports news today. I do want to talk about competition preps today. In general, we have a lot of folks competing soon, so I want to make sure I touch base on a lot of subjects that a lot of folks have been reaching out about, and I definitely want to make sure we get a lot of details laid out for y'all who are getting ready for competition. So, again, it's Sunday. Niners play today. Go Niners. Hopefully, we have a tough game against the Eagles. Hopefully, we come out with that W. Okay, and then we're off to the Super Bowl. So we're getting this out before the game today. Me and Mark both are trying to catch the full game. So we are in February. Next week. So we're pretty close to the first month of the year being over, and you know how fast that goes. 1 month done. So for those of you who've been training, who've been staying consistent, I'm super happy with all you guys with your progress. For those of you who haven't come back yet in the new year, again, it's just 1 year, 1 month's done already, 11 more to go. Make sure you guys get back in the gym. We want to see you guys back in the gym. We want to see you guys training again. The energy's been great. The vibe's been great in the gym. We want to have more people coming back in, familiar faces, come back in. If you're scared of coming back in after a long layoff, don't be. Just come back in and go slow. It's no big deal. Okay, people understand. People take layoffs. People get injured. People have vacations or whatever. Work gets in the way. Come on back, okay? We're waiting for you all to come back. You guys know who I'm talking about. If you think this is you, I'm talking to you. Come on back, guys. We looking for you, okay? We want to see you guys get back in the gym, get training, and have fun with us. So we're rolling along with everything. Yoga program is going smoothly. We got the Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu program running smoothly. Sound healing still happening. A lot of opportunities for y'all. Again, check the Mind Body app for all the details on all the scheduling and all the classes. Private lessons are rolling along. All the assistant instructors, myself included, we're all open up for private lessons. So again, if you're interested in private lessons, reach out and we'll get you guys scheduled. Private lessons are a good opportunity for you guys to get that individual attention and get you guys focused on what you need to do for your game. Jiu-Jitsu World League happened this past weekend also. So congrats to all the competitors who went out there. We also have tickets for Logan Diaz's fight. The PKB is coming up in February. We now have physical tickets at the front desk, $65 for general admission, $85 for ringside. Excuse me. And the PKB will also be you don't have to buy tickets up front for the PKB, the Point Kickboxing Tournament, which happens at the same day, same venue. You can attend the PKB. I think we have about 6 fighters on the PKB circuit. I think we have, from the top down, we have Bryson, we have Vinny, we have Will. Who else do we got in here? We have Brian. We have, let me see, we have a couple more guys coming in. Kevin, yes, Kevin. Shout out to Kevin as well. Ethan, of course, Ethan, you're out there as well. So all the guys who are competing on the PKB, good luck, all the best. Before that week, we also have Grappling Industries the week before on the 11th. So a lot of folks on the Grappling Industries event. We've been talking about this for the last few podcasts. So shout out to everyone who is competing on that event as well. So as I was saying, there's a lot of guys competing. A lot of our team is competing. So I definitely want to talk about competition prep as we enter February, and it's about to be 2 or 3 weeks out for a lot of you guys who are competing. Before that, let's touch base real quick on the UFC. Congrats to Jamal Hill. I think me and Mark figured he would get that W. A dominating fight over Glover Teixeira. Now the new undisputed light heavyweight champion. Shout out to Glover Teixeira, who is now retired after that fight. What a war. What a way to go out. When you win a championship belt and you've been to the top of the top, and you try to stay there, it happens eventually. Father Time beats us all, and I think Glover hung up the gloves at the right time. Shout out to Glover. Shout out to Brandon Moreno as well for getting his belt back, getting that nice left hook onto Davison Figueiredo and literally blinding him with that nice punch and swelling up that eye. Moreno, another victory for him in that weight division. Figueiredo looks like he's moving up, so we won't see a 5th fight between those two. But again, some say a little anticlimactic. We would have liked to see them go a little longer. But, when you land that right shot and it injures your opponent, that's a win. And unfortunately, as much as you want to see a longer war, a longer fight, or another fight for them, more so, Figueiredo's tired of cutting that weight. And we'll talk about that later, cutting weight and getting down to a really, really small figure and trying to compete at that division. We have also Gilbert Burns gets that quick submission over Neil Magny and then calls out Colby Covington after. What a victory. And this is in Brazil, too, the whole event. So the Brazil crowd was going wild out there. Jessica Andrade with a decision against Lauren Murphy. And then Johnny Walker comes back with a fury and knocks out Paul Craig in the first round. That was an amazing knockout as well. That was a stunner. So a lot of good fights. Also, Shogun Rua retires as well after his loss to Porteria. And, Shogun, like I was saying, he's definitely done enough in this sport. We definitely would love to see him fight if he was in his prime. But, right now it is at the tail end of his career. He's got to move on. And it is definitely a good farewell to Shogun Rua. Big respect to him. The other performances of the night, we gotta shout out with the Bonfim brothers. The Bonfim brothers had a spectacular night. Gabriel Bonfim, along with his brother, who was in the early prelims, is Ismael Bonfim. Ismael gets that big KO victory against Terrence McKinney, and Terrence McKinney's been a hype train, and Bonfim came in with that big knockout, a flying knee knockout. What a victory for him. And then his brother comes in the prelims and gets the submission in the first round, Gabriel Bonfim. So watch out for those Bonfim brothers. Again, I really have never seen them before. I've never even watched them, but they've been put on my radar now. Ismael is in the lightweight, and then Gabriel is in the welterweight division. So the Bonfim brothers, if you guys are not familiar with, go check out those last fights. It was amazing. They should be available on the ESPN Plus undercard. So again, you don't have to buy the pay-per-view to watch those. Mark, any fights that stuck out to you this past weekend?
I love the Gilbert Burns fight. That was incredible. And the Colby Covington call it. I want to see that fight.
I did not expect Neil Magny to get submitted in a round. Neil Magny's got great jiu-jitsu, and the fact that Burns was able to get the submission over him just shows what level Gilbert Burns is at. Man, what a amazing jiu-jitsu display. And I think, again, if we get that Colby Covington fight, man, that's going to be a good one. Gilbert Burns always puts on a show, and so does Colby. So I'm excited to see that one. Oh, boy. Okay. Well, again, there's not too much combat sports news. Today, I really wanted to focus on competition prep. And we've talked a little bit about first-time competitors. So this will also circle back to some of those folks who are doing first-time. So we have a lot of folks doing their first-time competition upcoming. But in general, whether you're a seasoned competitor or it's your first time, these notes that I'm going to give you today are going to be also applicable for all of you. So let's talk about prepping, right? Competition prep. When we think about it, we should all be training all the time. That's the ideal situation. Everyone, you're training, you're always ready. Yeah, it doesn't matter what day it is. In the martial arts mindset, it's about staying ready, right? You don't ever want to be caught in a place where your skills or your physical attributes are all compromised. You want to make sure you're always sharp, you're always healthy, you're always ready to go. And that's the general mindset with martial arts. We train for that reason. That more so than competitions, it's for the confidence to be ready to go whatever or whenever and however the situation arrives. So in a sense, competition is that extra tool we can use to sharpen our skills. And that's really what it is at the end of the day. A lot of people are going to have that pressure to get that gold, get that medal, and get that glory. But competition is really to teach us more than anything else. Teaching you what your game is, what you need to work on, and how you need to approach your training. If you're in the UFC, it's a different story. If you're doing it for money, if it's your career, that's another story. So a lot of folks who are competing for our team, especially, are doing it as hobbyists. And that's okay. I don't mind folks coming in and trying to come in and have fun and try competitions because, it is fun. It's a good time. And at the end of the day, all competition is a good time for you to experience and get and level up. If you're taking it too seriously, that's when a lot of folks can get heartbroken and they can really get derailed. So you want to, again, take it lightly, but still take it seriously. It's a balancing act of trying to make sure you continue to push yourself to go hard, and at the same time, take care of yourself. Don't let yourself get physically and mentally broken by trying to get all of the stuff done in this competition or in the camp. The camp we call the prep to the competition. And talking about the camp, let's talk about this as far as prep time, right? Again, like I said, always staying ready is the ideal situation. Always staying ready, training hard, consistently, and making sure you're honing and refining your game. But when we talk about competition, personally, me, when I was growing up in karate, it was just something where, as a kid, you're not even thinking about it, right? When you go into competitions, you just do what you've been trained to do, and it's whatever. As adults, there's a little bit more pressure sometimes, like when adults go in for competitions, especially these full contact competitions, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, MMA, they get a little more anxiety, they get a little more fearful sometimes because of the pressure they put on themselves. And I think that's something that you got to respect. You got to honor those feelings of fear. It's not like you shouldn't be feeling fear. Fear is something all of us naturally have. If you don't respect the fear, then you will not come in and prep correctly. If you just think you're going to come in and I'm not scared of nothing, that doesn't motivate you to train harder. Fear actually can help us in a lot of ways, and you should be using that fear and honoring the fear and helping yourself develop your game through that fear. And again, it's not about letting that fear take over. It's about, again, respecting it. I think a lot of folks, when they come in, they want to make a big show. They want to show like their skills and do all this stuff. And sometimes it's the opposite end of the fear, is where they don't have it at all, and they just focus on, like, I'm going to get that win. There's no chances I'm going to lose. And again, that's another part of it where it's not balanced. We want to make sure we're real, that with the expectations. Okay, we're not putting ourselves in this place where we can only win, because you never know in these competitions. There's always a chance where some guy's a killer in there and he's been training twice as long as you and he's twice your size, or whatever. He's cut the weight down and he's worked hard and he's been waiting for this all his life as well. And he comes in and smashes you. And then from there, again, you're derailed. So constantly balancing. So when we're in the camp, when we're prepping for all of this, we got to remember that balance, right? We want to make sure we're in this camp, we're working on our strengths, and we're also working on our weaknesses. With the weaknesses, that's where a lot of your attention should be. And with your strengths, you want to make sure those stay polished. You're always coming back to your strengths, making sure you're keeping that sharp. And at the same time, really digging into the weaknesses in your game, really kind of asking the questions as what do I do here in this position? Or what do I do in this situation? Really analyzing your weaknesses, figuring out how you can turn it into a different situation. Your weaknesses aren't always going to be your weaknesses. You're all going to learn, you're all going to develop, and those weaknesses end up turning into something else, because sometimes those weaknesses expose another part of your game that actually could be an attribute, and vice versa. You want to find constantly the details in your game that are going to help you. And when we have a camp, the longer the camp we have, the better. If we have 3 months to prep versus 2 weeks to prep, the longer camp is going to help us get a lot of the issues covered. The shorter you give your camp, the shorter time you go from I'm going to sign up for this competition, the less time you have to prep, the less time you have to cut weight. So for me, I typically say, for folks who it's their first time, if you've been training for about a year or so, if you've been doing your due diligence with your training, I say it's a good 2 months to sign up for a competition and prep. I like that 2 months buffer. 6 weeks is about that fine line where, okay, we can still make that work. A lot of the seasoned competitors, 6 weeks is ideal too, especially if you're cutting a lot of weight. That's another factor we want to make sure we consider if we're having that time frame. And if we're going under that 6 week period, if we're going 4 or 2 weeks, I really recommend for those who are not competition savvy to kind of take a little reflection on that. I'm not going to say don't do it, but reflect on that. See if you really are able to get to that point. Some of you are really athletic. Some of you have wrestling backgrounds. Some of you have been boxing before, or some of you guys have done sports all your life. If you haven't done any of that stuff, I really would recommend you guys take time before you compete and learn. When I started jiu-jitsu, I didn't compete until I was about 4 years into jiu-jitsu training. And my first competition was when I was a blue belt. And I know some of you are eager to compete at white belt, and that's good. I love that passion. I love that energy. But again, let's be realistic with what we need to do to prep our game. We need to talk to our coaches. We need to talk to our teammates. We got to look at our schedule, make sure we're not going on vacation during that camp and like gaining a bunch of weight or going out partying all night, having your birthday and derailing all the work you've done through the week and, doing all the extracurricular activities that end up making us struggle when it comes down to the camp. And life happens with everyone, and you never know. But again, it's about being organized with that camp, making sure you're prioritizing what you need to prioritize, and making sure you're not letting yourself fall off the game plan too far away. Now, when we're talking about camps, again, we were talking about weights, right? When we're talking about weights, let's first talk about those who are beginning, right? When you're beginning, you don't really know what weight you should compete at. Unfortunately, there's no set plan for everyone as to what weight you should compete at. So when it's your first time, I typically will tell folks, cut the weight as best you can without having it drain you fully, right? And the only way to know that is to practice weight cutting. You don't have to cut 10 pounds in a day, but you should try doing a day, maybe a water fast. Try doing a hot bath or a sauna session and see how much weight you can cut. And these practice cuts will give you a good indication as to what weight you should be competing at. Because if you're doing these cuts and you're feeling like, well, I'm drained, I'm lightheaded, that's probably not ideal. But if you're doing those cuts and you're like, oh, I feel fine, I can move, maybe we can cut a little bit more. And it's a dangerous game of trying to understand how much we can cut out of our system, like weight-wise, and still perform at a high level. And everyone knows the dangers of cutting too much weight too fast. It's just not healthy. So when you compete with these longer camps, it's about incremental cuts. Like every week, cut a pound or two off rather than the last week of camp cut 10, 12 pounds off. If you're experienced, Bryson is notorious for this. He's a wrestler all his life. He's used to cutting that amount of weight in that time. But for those who are literally coming off the couch and never competed before, you're going to have to go slow and make sure you're not putting too much on your plate. It's already a lot when you're thinking about competing, right? You're thinking about your game, your strategy, the schedule. The weight is another fight, in a sense, before the fight that you have to deal with, fighting against your own temptations, your own cravings, and wanting to have a bunch of big meals and enjoy all the hard work you've done by rewarding yourself with a treat afterwards and training. But that stuff got to be managed. You got to be careful with those. One big meal can mean a couple pounds on the scale. So it's one of the things that we all struggle with as martial artists, and it's one of the things that I hated the most when I was competing. It was just like, oh man, I do not want to cut weight. I did it for many years of not cutting weight, and I was just the stubborn guy, like, I'm just going to compete at my weight. I was competing against big guys, and then I realized how difficult it was to compete against guys with similar technical skill, but a bigger weight advantage. Because at the end of the day, when you think about martial arts, if you have the technical skill and the other person has a zero idea of any technical aspect of martial arts, you're going to be the victor. But in competitions, most people are technically savvy, at least at the same level you are. So having the advantage of size and weight is a factor. And we cannot deny this. BJ Penn said it best. Imagine having a 12-year-old apply a rear naked choke and then have Mark Coleman, a former heavyweight UFC champion, apply a choke and see if you feel a difference. And if you don't, you're an idiot. That's something where we got to be real. We got to be, honoring the what this sport and the athletes who make that sacrifice regularly, and making sure we're playing that part too, and we're honoring that. Because guys, we would all love to be just as big as possible and strong as possible. And some of you guys are using cheat codes out there, and they're getting big and strong. And if that's something that you want to do, that's on you. But I really emphasize having a healthy lifestyle, making sure you have a good balance of, getting your diet right, doing your strength training, making sure you're technically sound. And that's really the key. And I don't care what the result is at the end of the day. If you've done all you can, and you know that you've put the sacrifice in, you've put the time in, that's really what's the most honorable thing, more than any medal you can get on the stage. Get out there, do your best, have fun, put the time in for the camp, and just let it go. The pressure that you may be feeling is something where you may end up getting to this point where the anxiety is just killing you. You start feeling that those nerves, you start feeling nauseous. Maybe you physically feel sick sometimes with all the anxiety that can arrive with competing. So That pressure, you need to honor that as well. Honor that pressure that you're feeling and use it to make you grow as a martial artist. Motivate it for you to use it to motivate you to get to the gym, get your reps in, ask questions to the coaches, work on your game, get the extra reps outside of the gym. If you guys got an extra mat, get a sparring partner or sparring dummy and just get those reps in, get those drills in. A lot of anxiety can be killed by physical activity. If you're feeling anxiety, maybe you need to go out for a run. Maybe you need to go out for a strength and conditioning workout. Maybe you need to find a partner and get some drills in. Those times when you're putting that work in can help you develop your game. And again, listening to your body is also key. When we listen to our body, if our body is broken down, maybe it's time to focus on some recovery. Maybe look and get into a sauna session. Maybe looking to get into massage. Maybe looking into doing a yoga class. Those things are very important. As much as we have to train hard, we have to recover hard. So put that into your camp as well. Scheduling your time to recover. Take some time that you're out of the gym and not necessarily going out to buffets or going out to the club or anything. Go out, go for a hike, go for a nice swim, go for something with your family, go with your dog, whatever you can do. Take your mind off it every now and then. Give your mind a break off competing because, again, having those scenarios repeatedly circle your head over and over and over is very, very difficult to manage. You got to have fun with this. This is, again, a fun activity for all of us. And at the end of the day, if we're not going to have fun, why do it? What is the point of doing it if you're not going to have any fun with this? When it comes down to the results, again, the results for me are more important that everyone develops and gets the experience. Experience is the biggest factor in this. We go into these competitions to get experience. Unless you're getting paid, again, the main point is to get experience. I know everyone wants to have the glory. Everyone wants to have the shine. Everyone wants to post on Instagram and show, I got this medal, I got all this stuff. But that doesn't mean anything if your performance was poor. Those performances, the experience you had, that's more valuable than all the likes you'll get on Instagram, than all the congrats from the DM messages and everything. If that's something you're looking for, then great. Go buy a medal at on Amazon and show people that, I got this. It's easy. That's all it is. These are pieces of metal or plastic that end up not defining who you are. It shows you if you had a good day or not. That's it. Some guys had the gold medal. They had a better day than you. And when it comes down to it, it doesn't mean they're better than you at all in any aspect. They had a better day than you. In the long run, who knows what they'll end up being, if they're going to even continue training by this time next year, or if they're just going to be injured, unfortunately, for next year. So comparison is a thief of joy in this sport, and just in general. If you compare yourself against any other team, any other competitor, any other person, you're going to be taken away from what you could be achieving yourself in your own lifetime and your own journey. So focus on what you need to do. Focus on what you want to achieve, not just on the medal side, but on the game side, on what your style is and what your overall attributes and weaknesses. What can you develop and what can you work on is the biggest takeaways from these tournaments. Some people, you get the wins and then they just don't even look at their footage other than, oh yeah, that was a great highlight reel from me. But not really being critical can sometimes bite us back, and then the next performance we're getting, on the losing end. And then when we're back into cycling through all the thoughts that can make us really feel down and depressed. So, learn from every experience, no matter if it's a loss or a win. Find the things you need to work on. Find exactly the weaknesses that you need to address before your opponent does it for you. Because if we're not doing it ourselves, definitely someone out there will. And the guys are just continually training out there and getting better every day. So the days that you aren't going out there working on your game, you got to remember your opponent is. Your opponent out there, these guys are obsessed out here. A lot of the guys out here in this sport can't get enough of this sport. And if you think having the day off to just, do whatever and, kind of get off of the whole plan is going to help you, again, you got to remember that the other guys out there are putting that work in. Again, it's not the same thing as taking a break because you've put the hard work in, but taking that break when you haven't earned it is another thing, right? If you haven't put that work in throughout the week and you're just like, oh, this hasn't been a good week, let me just take one other day off. That's different than I've put 6 days in hard this week, let me get the 7th day to recover, or do an active rest day. Actively resting means, again, going out doing something physically active, whether you go out and have a nice bike ride or have a nice swim, or you go out and just have a nice relaxing walk on alongside the beach with your loved ones, whatever. Those active rest days can actually be beneficial for you. You're moving, you're taking your mind off everything, but that is not necessarily like putting yourself out of the game plan. That is part of the game plan, is putting yourself in some time to recover. And again, when we think about it, there's a lot of guys out there who don't have that mindset. Sometimes they think, oh, I need to train every day, like nonstop hard. And that's okay. Some people have different approach. This is just my idea or my style of coaching for y'all. I hate to see athletes that, even if they have a lot of shine early on, it's like a shooting star. It shines bright quickly, but then it's gone, right? I'd rather see a long game. I'd rather see you guys coming in, training, and coming in for the long run. Overall, this is a lifestyle. This is a lifetime of martial arts that I would love everyone to see. That's the only way our sport survives, if people stick around for the lifetime. Those short, very small increments of people getting their shine on and then leaving the sport, that's where it doesn't really make a big difference in the actual big picture, right? In the big picture of the sport, we want to see guys being out there training in the old ages, sharing it with their families, passing it on to the next generation. Those are the martial artists that help us keep this sport alive, and those are the ones that I respect so much. So, be real with what you want to do out here, guys. Okay, just let us know. Let other coaches know if you have anything you want to work on, anything you want to get developed, because there's so much out there that we can do and work on that we don't want to get overwhelmed. We want to make sure we have the support of the team around us to help us manage what we are doing and what we're trying to achieve in this game. So again, utilize all the people around you. Utilize us, the team. Go get your training and your cross training in, and getting your insights. Try to shut out the negative noises. People who are trying to doubt you, who are trying to say, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing this. Oh, it's too dangerous." Those guys aren't martial artists. Those guys aren't fighters. They don't know what they're talking about, because this is a very rare breed of folks who are able to step up to competition and go out there and put it all on the line. And I really respect that, and others will respect it as well. So give yourself that little moment to go out and enjoy the competition. Visualize yourself on that mat. Close your eyes. Feel your feet on the mat, and visualize the ref coming in and saying combat or fight, and shaking the hands with your opponent. It's about respect at the end of the day. No matter what happens, always respect your opponents. Always remember that they're trying to achieve the same dreams as you are. So there's no reason to have animosity against these opponents. There's no reason to come out with a bad attitude. These guys are just trying to do what you want to do. They're trying to go out there and win. And whether we get it or not, whether we win or lose, we're going to take away something valuable that no one can take away from you ever. No one can ever take away the experience of competing from you. That's something that you're going to have for a lifetime. Whether you compete once or 1,000 times, you're going to be able to tell the next generation, the other people, the people coming up, like, hey, yeah, I did this. This is what it was. And you come from that vantage point of being an experienced martial artist, having the competition experience under your belt. I know I've been talking a lot. Mark, anything to add to this about competitions in general?
A couple things that came to mind was with the cutting weight. Just don't underestimate what alcohol does for the weight, because
don't drink those calories, folks. Careful with the calories. Yes, all of my 20s, I never drank because I was competing. It was just part of my game. Now I'm retired for the most part. I'm able to drink and not worry about it. But yes, I can tell the difference alcohol is made with my weight too, and it's a huge factor. The drinking aspect of it is another thing that you got to be careful with the alcohol, because it does take away from your performance. It takes away some years, sometimes, off of your competition life. So yeah, it's a very good point, Mark.
Another thing that came to mind was filming yourself in training and going over that film with your coaches.
Yes. I love that. I always was very, very early on, since the early days, I would take out my cameras. I would record the filming of the training. I think I take that from like the Bruce Lee days, when his backyard training and seeing him practice his kicks and punches along his heavy bag. So, whether it's jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, film your practice sessions as much you can. Film your pad work with the coach. Film your sparring sessions. Film your bag work. Film the roles you're having with your partners. Find the holes now in your game rather than waiting for the competition, right? if you can find the holes early on, you're not going to have to worry so much about it during the competition. Sometimes competition will expose us for different things we didn't realize we needed to work on. But again, as best we can, we're going to need to find the issues we have in our game now before it gets to a point where it's too late. So again, find those holes, get a camera out. It doesn't have to be a big fancy camera. Get your phone out, film a few rounds, make space, delete all the other stuff off your phone and try to save it to the iCloud or whatever, and try to get yourselves used to seeing yourself on camera and making sure that you know, like, all right, this is how I look now. I want to change that, or I need to keep working on this, and so on and so forth. That's a very good point, Mark. Get your camera out, use it. We all got cameras on our phones. There's no excuse nowadays. Get yourself out there. So I think that's it from me, Mark. Any last thoughts from you?
I'm all good. I just respect all the competitors.
Yes, and good luck, everyone. Good luck. So again, thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you all have a good rest of the week. Go Niners. Train hard, stay consistent. Take care.